This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Workplace stress is at an all-time high. Like, everyone I know is burnt out right now. And even though it's summertime, most of us can't just peace out and disappear to the beach. But something that's helped me manage stress is doing small things every day, like walking outside, sitting out on my back deck and journaling, and sometimes unplugging from my phone for a bit. But let's be honest, it's not always enough, and that's where therapy comes in. Therapy isn't just for people going through something huge. It's a tool for anyone who wants to set better boundaries, learn coping skills, or just understand themselves better. And BetterHelp makes it super easy to get started. It's easy to use, convenient, and very flexible. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp. So head to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off. If you haven't tried Via yet, what are you doing? You're seriously missing out. We love this brand and use them all the time. Whether you want to chill out, sleep better, boost your mood, or just refocus during the day, Via is here to enhance your everyday. They are trusted by over 500,000 customers, including me and Russ. I mean, we talk about them all the time, whether it's through the ad or just in our show. Via blends high-quality hemp-derived ingredients with plant extracts to deliver a real effect-driven product. From zero THC to high-potency options, you can totally customize your experience with them. Their gummies are award-winning, and I'm telling you, they taste just like candy. There's no medical card needed. They ship legally and discreetly all across the U.S. And if you're not sure where to start, just take their product finder quiz. It only takes a minute, and it gives you a personalized recommendation based on exactly what you're looking for. So if you're 21 and up, head to viahemp.com and use code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off, free shipping on orders over $100, and a free gift with your first order. That's viahemp.com. And don't forget to enter Wife of Crime #1 at checkout. After you order, they'll ask how you heard about them. Please tell them we sent you, because we love them and we want them to be our sponsor forever.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, when a family of 8 people gets murdered, all in the same night, in 4 different homes, it leaves a small town shocked and terrified. This was targeted, well planned. It could have been professional, but cops quickly realized this was personal and closer to home than anyone was comfortable with. This is the insane case of the Pike County Massacre. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's Russ again, back for another one. A.K.A. Mr. Old-Fashioned. A.K.A. I'm an old-fashioned man.
Oh.
A.K.A. I'll drink a beer after that.
And I'm Jess, and we're back for another week.
So what's the word?
So, okay, before we start, I have to do unfortunately, Jess messed up.
Which is every husband's favorite segment. Because wives never admit anything, and she would never do this if we weren't on a microphone.
So on the last episode, you used a term that I considered old-fashioned when you said something was long in the tooth. And I told you that I made fun of you. I told you sounded like a 70-year-old and that it was like a term from like 1950 something. And I got a bunch of messages of people who were like, I use long in the tooth. I say long in the tooth. So then on the Patreon episode, I also made fun of you again on the Amy Lynn Bradley episode. And then I had a bunch of patrons comment and say that they say long in the tooth and they've heard of long in the tooth. And it made me feel like, okay, maybe I'm the only person who's never heard of this. But then I started thinking, maybe everybody that listens to us is just old.
Nope.
And I am a young spring chicken, and all of you are just old farts who say old things.
No way. You are just not as well cultured as me and hashtag the team Russ.
Oh.
You know?
I'm not as well cultured.
No. We are well cultured, well traveled. We drink Chardonnay without pinky out.
Says the guy who's been to like 3 places outside of New York in his entire life.
I only go to places that deserve to be visited.
Oh, okay.
So I have this interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lunch lady, Brooke Wilson Johnson. She's an 18-year-old contracted lunchroom worker in Michigan. So she allegedly, well, not allegedly, at this point she was convicted. She paid 2 fourth graders $1 each to beat up another fourth grader who called her a pregnant bitch.
What?
It's kind of crazy, right?
That is wild.
So multiple witnesses, including other employees, reported that the student had his food taken off his plate, pushed out of his chair, and was stomped.
Oh my God.
While the lunch lady watched and laughed.
That is crazy.
The worker denied intending harm, claiming she only gave one of the boys $1 as a thank you for standing up to the other child.
Oh, so she said she gave him $1 because he must have said something when the kid said you're a pregnant bitch.
So basically she gave them a handshake. Yo, my guy, don't say nothing. But she's lying.
Yeah.
That's obvious. So the consequence, she was immediately fired. I was curious, like, what could you be charged for that? Like, giving a kid $1 or to beat a kid up? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, because kid-on-kid fights are just kid-on-kid fights.
Yeah.
You know, no one really gets too hurt normally.
Normally, yeah.
So she was charged for disorderly conduct, aiding and abetting delinquency. And she was sentenced to 1 week in jail, 1 year probation.
Wow.
And fined $1,100.
I mean, honestly, she deserves it. Like, a little kid called you a pregnant bitch. Who cares?
She does.
She deserves it 100%.
But I've seen stuff like this happen outside where another little kid is like talking shit to a grown-up, like outside of school.
Uh-huh.
And they give another little kid like, yo, go smack the shit out of him, buy you ice cream.
I've never seen that. Is that what happened in the hood you grew up in?
Welcome to the Bronx.
Welcome to the Bronx. Because I've never seen that before.
Yeah, so that's wild.
It is.
Little man that did that, you know, he got a career being a hitman.
Right? It's like a hitman situation in 4th grade.
And the little kid that got hit, he called her a pregnant bitch.
Yeah.
I don't condone it, but I understand.
No, why would you understand? Because you're somebody who doesn't care what anyone says about you. You were looking up the review today to read, and somebody gave you tons of compliments, and you said, I'm not reading that one. It's too nice. Like, you don't get offended by when people talk shit to you. You don't care about people calling you names or anything, especially strangers. So, like, how do you understand it?
See, I don't know what level of disrespect triggers me.
Yeah.
But sometimes things trigger me.
Yeah. I don't know. A 4th grader called you a name. Get over it.
Back in the day as a 4th grader, when I had a smart mouth, I got wedgies from the adults.
Yeah.
So
people don't do that
People
no more.
will put their hands on a child.
People don't do that no more.
Exactly.
It's not part of our society anymore. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous, but whatever.
Like, I could think of some little kids I might would have tripped. But I can't stick my foot out. So how the fuck do you trip someone when you can't move your foot?
You can't. You'd have to use your grabber. So this week, one of our listeners sent me an article because on our last Start Spreading the News episode, we talked about the guy who went on tour with the Annabelle doll, the one from Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum, and he dropped dead, R.I.P.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently
That word is owned by that kid.
it is. So apparently Matt Rife, the comedian, bought Ed and Lorraine Warren's house and their museum and the Annabelle doll. And he is now the owner of all of this because he's like obsessed with paranormal things and he loves Ed and Lorraine Warren's movies and all that. So it'll be interesting to see if Matt Rife is the next to go.
Imagine.
I mean, honestly, I'm laughing now. It's not that funny. But
we're laughing because we don't believe that it can happen.
yeah.
Well, you believe everything.
Well, no, I believe in paranormal things, but I don't know if I believe in the Annabelle doll or Ed and Lorraine Warren since they've been proven to be like scammers. I don't know if I believe they're complete con artists. I just know that they engaged in some scammy things. So I don't believe that the Annabelle doll will actually kill anyone. But it's pretty interesting to me that it's kind of random to me that Matt Rife, of all people, stepped in and bought it.
I wonder where he keeps it.
No,
like,
he owns the property with the museum.
Oh, he bought I thought he just bought the contents of the museum. So, like, he bought the museum and then he still has the museum running?
Well, no, it's their house. The museum is in their house. So he now owns their property and their museum and all the contents in it that are haunted and the Annabelle doll and everything. I wonder if she's in her little case. Because, they said that she was in that case, and if you let her out, that's when she's going to do bad things.
Yeah, she moonwalks across the floor, then slits your throat.
God. Well, this month on the Patreon, we watched and reviewed the new Netflix documentary that everyone is talking about, Amy Bradley is Missing. And it was a really good episode, and we got a lot of comments on Patreon about it. We talked through our theories of what we think happened, and similar, I mean, I don't know, I haven't listened to the episode from 2019 that we covered about her case. I haven't listened to it like since 2019. But I wonder if your opinions are still the same. I need to go back and listen to that episode, actually. But we got a lot of comments on Patreon. And if you're interested in hearing our coverage of the Amy Bradley documentary, go to Patreon, sign up at the $5 tier. And all of our other True Crime and Chill episodes are over there, too. And Russ has the patron shout-outs.
And here they go. So this week's Patrons that joined are Addie, Not in the Shoes. Hopefully they're not Skechers. Nikki, Dio, Jacqueline, Alex, Heather, Ava, Justice, Kim, Laura, Hannah, Morgan, Juliana, Una, LBF, Alana, and Cameron. So shout out to you guys. I got my little whiskey here. Well, I got an old fashioned.
Yeah, he's got an old fashioned that I made him. His personal bartender made it for him.
So cheers to you guys.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. We love you.
And it's about that time for review of the week.
Okay.
So this review is from GA Chop. I'm the biggest corn. So, my husband refuses to switch to iPhone. It's not our credit. Haha. So I have to pay for Amazon Music, so I always listen to y'all there. For 4 years. Just recently, I realized I can use Apple Podcasts for free. So here's my review. Love y'all. And Russ, I agree with everything you say. I don't trust anyone and always think they might have an ulterior motive. I always laugh out loud when Russ says something crazy or off the wall and just keeps talking. By the way, I'm not from Texas, but I'm always packing.
Oh.
Not me, not today.
Okay.
So, shout out to you. I know you're from the South because you said y'all.
Yep, definitely from the South.
In New York, we say yous.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, appreciate you. There's no one more stubborn than an Android person.
Well, an Android person with good credit, because it means that they could have something else, but they refuse. Like your friend Onyx, whose entire family has iPhones except him.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes that just always want to, like, think they're smart, like he knows everything, he's smarter than everyone. So if they all, I guarantee, if they all had Androids, he'd get an iPhone.
Really?
He's just like that.
He just likes to go against the grain.
Love him, but he's fucking annoying.
Well, he is like one of your best friends in the entire world.
Yep.
Okay. They say when you marry someone, you're not just getting a partner. You're marrying their whole damn family. And while that can mean Sunday dinners and borrowed casserole dishes, it can also mean navigating the complex ecosystem of the mother-in-law.
Shout out to Care and the banana bread.
You have a good mother-in-law.
No, she's dope. We're going sunglass shopping next week.
Yeah. She bakes you banana bread fresh all the time.
That's true.
Some are sweet. Some are intense. Some text you daily. And some mysteriously never learn your name. Because behind that tight smile and passive-aggressive potato salad might be a woman who doesn't just want to be part of your life. She wants to run it. And sometimes, in small, everyone knows everyone towns, those tight family bonds can get complicated. Lines blur. Loyalties split. Everyone is in everyone's business. And secrets don't stay buried for long, unless, of course, someone really wants them to be buried. So when 8 members of the Rhoden family were executed in a single night.
What?
In 4 separate homes, back to back.
What?
No witnesses. No signs of forced entry. It wasn't just shocking. It was terrifying.
This sounds like some supernatural Annabelle shit.
This whole entire case is like something you would think is a plot of a movie. This crime didn't feel like a crime of passion. It felt calculated and tactical. People around town started whispering about the Rhodens, their marijuana growing operation, about debts, about enemies, about the cartel. But as investigators dug deeper, a new theory emerged, one that hit so much closer to home. Because the thing about family is, loyalty is supposed to be unwavering, but sometimes it comes at a cost. This is the case of the Pike County Massacre. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It was 2016, on a quiet April morning in Pike County, Ohio, when Bobby Jo Manley headed over to her brother-in-law Chris Rhoden Sr.'s house to feed his dogs and chickens, just like she did every day. But something felt off. The door was locked. Chris usually left it open for her. The dogs normally were inside, but they were outside today. So using the spare key Chris had given her, Bobby Jo stepped inside his home and into a nightmare. The trailer was silent. Too silent. At first, she looked around, half expecting him to come out from the bathroom or something. But then she saw blood. A trail of blood led her to the back bedroom, where Chris Sr. and his cousin Gary Rhoden were lying dead, shot, execution style. So she immediately ran out of there, ran to her car, grabbed her cell phone, and called 911.
911. Yes, I need up Jesse at 40. I need you to tell me the address. What's the address? Give me just a second. We walked to the mailbox. I think my brother-in-law's dead. Okay, what's the address? Give me just a second. 4077 Union Hill Road. 4077. 4077. Okay, 4077 Union Hill, correct? Yes, 4077 Union Hill Road. Ma'am, you gotta tell me what's going on. There's blood all over the house. Okay. My brother-in-law's in the bedroom and looks like someone has beat the hell out of him. Okay. Ma'am? Yeah. What's his name? Chris Rhoden and Gary Rhoden. Chris and Gary Rhoden? Both of them in there look like they're dead. You think they're both dead? I think they're both dead. Looks like someone has beat the fuck out of them. Okay. Is there anybody else in the house? Not that I know of. Okay. The door was locked when we got here, but I know where the key was at. And I went in, and they were laying on the floor. Okay. Bobby, I need you to get out of the house and wait. I'm done out. Okay? I'm standing outside right now. Okay, just stay out of the house. Don't let anybody go in there, okay? Yeah. All right, we got deputies on the way, okay? Thank you. You're welcome.
In a panic, Bobby Joe ran to Chris's son Frankie's place down the road. She pounded on the door until it creaked open, but it wasn't Frankie or his fiancée Hannah standing just beyond the doorway. It was their 3-year-old son, Brentley. Bobby Joe asked, "Where's your daddy?" And the boy said, "Daddy's in the room, playing zombie."
Oh, shit.
When she opened the bedroom door, what she found was beyond horrific. Frankie and Hannah were shot to death in their bed. Lying between them, miraculously alive, was their 6-month-old baby, Ruger, covered in his parents' blood, holding his pacifier.
Wow, so they left the kids, though.
They left the kids alive.
Wow.
And it's so sad that he said, "Daddy's in the room playing zombie."
Right, like, what would he...
How sad is that?
I don't even know what to say except how sad that is. I'm glad they didn't kill the kids, but this is... And I'm glad they're young enough where they won't remember, but this is terrible. There got to be some, like, back-of-the-mind trauma, like the therapists say. Like, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not for the 6-month, but for the 3-year-old.
Yeah, 3-year-old, you're, like, kind of old enough to, like, remember seeing things.
Yeah, I have a memory of, like, a mouse running across the floor. Like, I have a couple weird memories.
Yeah. Bobby Joe then frantically called her brother James. She told him to go check on their sister, Dana. James sped over to Dana's home and discovered that Dana, her 19-year-old daughter, Hannah Mae, and her 16-year-old son, Chris Jr., had all been murdered. But there was another baby, Hannah Mae's 4-day-old newborn, Kylie, still alive in her mother's bloody arms.
Oh, my God.
And luckily, Hannah Mae's toddler, Sophia, had been staying with her father, Jake Wagner, that week, so she wasn't in the home at all. As the news spread among the extended Rhoden family, they all began to gather at a local church to figure out what the hell was happening. One of the cousins, Donald, noticed one person wasn't there, Kenny Rhoden. So Donald drove straight to Kenny's trailer and found him dead, too. 8 members of the Rhoden family executed in the same night. 4 crime scenes, no witnesses, no signs of forced entry, just blood and shell casings everywhere. This wasn't a random act of violence. It wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It couldn't be. It was way too calculated. At first glance, it had all the signs of a cartel-style hit. The Rhodens had a marijuana grow operation, over 200 plants across the main property. Pike County was rural, close to the border with Kentucky, and known to be a trafficking corridor. Locals started whispering about debts and enemies, maybe even a message being sent. The method was cold and precise. It was execution style, so it felt organized. The Rhoden family had deep roots in Pike County, Ohio, generations deep. They were the kind of family that everyone knew, the kind that had lived in the same stretch of land for decades. Chris Rhoden Sr. was the backbone of the family, a hardworking man who made a living doing everything. He was like a hustler. He would haul scrap metal. He ran a small trucking business. He was very respected in the community, known for being generous, fiercely loyal, and always willing to lend a hand. His ex-wife, Dana Rhoden, was a nurse who cared deeply for her kids. And she was still close to Chris even after they got divorced. They decided to co-parent, and they did it really well. They co-parented pretty seamlessly. They were seen together often. They attended family gatherings, and they really supported their kids together, even though they were divorced. Their bond was unshakable, and their kids, Frankie, Hannah Mae, and Chris Jr., were their entire world. So the Rhodens weren't wealthy, but they were very tight-knit, deeply rooted, and proud.
So they were growing the weed in their yards. Yeah,
so they have a big property. 3 of the homes that the bodies were found in, the crime scenes, were on the same property. It's acres big, and they just have multiple homes like down the road, but it's all their property.
See, so now this makes more sense because there's quote-unquote drugs involved.
Mm-hmm.
And how long ago was this?
2016.
Yeah, so it was illegal back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Rhodens led simple lives, filled with hard work, family dinners, and raising their children on the same land that their grandparents lived on.
I feel like it's not that simple if you're also selling drugs.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. The strength of their connection made the brutality of their murders feel so tragic to the community around them. As investigators started processing the crime scenes, they started to conclude that the cartel angle was weak and not a reasonable conclusion to jump to. First of all, a cartel doesn't leave children alive. They don't spare dogs. And to be honest, their marijuana operation was pretty small. It was only 200 plants. They had intentions to distribute, but we don't know if they were actually distributing yet because it was a small amount of marijuana that they were growing.
Yeah, I don't know how much weed you get per plant, but what I do know is don't plant zucchinis because they will take over your garden.
True.
Those motherfuckers is everywhere. My mom plants zucchinis. Our garden's...
We have literal zucchinis bigger than my head, bigger than Russ's head, which is saying a lot because he has a big-ass head.
Bigger than Jess's feet.
And these things are huge, and I'm just giving them away to people. I've made zucchini bread twice. I'm about to make another loaf because I have so much zucchini.
I'll throw them shits in the pond, see if the fish like them.
I know, right? The Rhodens weren't big enough to be mixed up with the cartel. Whoever did this wasn't sending a message. Investigators knew this had to be personal, targeted, and deeply motivated. So the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations got involved because the Pike County Sheriff's Department had never investigated anything of this magnitude before. It was 8 murder victims, 4 crime scenes, endless hours of sifting through each victim's personal lives, known contacts, cell phones, computers. There were hundreds of interviews, thousands of tips, surveillance footage, vehicle tracking, and slowly the theory shifted from the cartel to something even more twisted. They started to understand that the Rhodens had to have known their perpetrators.
Yeah, for sure. This can't be random if you do the entire family.
No. These people had to know their dogs wouldn't attack them because none of the dogs were harmed. So if they know they're killers, then that means they were local, which means they were living in the community, watching the investigation, listening to the updates, interacting with the remaining Rhoden family members. The DA and sheriff's office held a press conference telling the public the shooters are living and walking among them, which is terrifying.
I feel like that's pretty obvious.
I know, but it's terrifying. As a community member, you have to remember this is Pike County, Ohio. It is a tiny town.
My high school might have been bigger in New York.
Yeah, it's a small town. So that's terrifying.
Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily be scared if I lived there because these people were targeted for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I still would be wondering who I know that could have done this.
Well, yeah, when you're in Dollar Tree, don't cut no one in line in your little town, and you probably be all right.
So investigators had to dig deeper into every aspect of the 8 victims' lives, who they dated, hung out with, what their hobbies were, or even if any of them had any dark secrets. Everything. One of the victims, 19-year-old Hannah Mae Rhoden, was a mother of 2 children. She's the one that had just given birth 4 days prior. And her other child was her daughter, Sophia. As I told you before, Sophia wasn't there. She was staying with her father, Jake Wagner, because the two had joint custody. At the center of the investigation was this relationship between Hannah Mae Rhoden and Jake Wagner. Jake was nearly 18 when he started dating 13-year-old Hannah Mae.
It's on some Elvis Presley shit.
2 years later, she moved in with Jake's family. And that's when things started to unravel. So let's be real. Life is busy, and the last thing I want to do after a long day is scrub a bathroom. That's why I booked a cleaning with HomeAglow, a top-rated home service platform that makes it super easy to keep your space clean and tidy. You just hop online, pick the time and the duration you need, and choose from vetted cleaners with amazing reviews. I found someone I trusted in minutes. The best part? With their Forever Clean membership, you get unlimited cleaning starting at just $19 an hour, backed by their happiness guarantee. And yes, 100% of the cleaning fees and tips go straight to your cleaner. So you're supporting someone local while reclaiming your time and sanity. Take cleaning off your plate this summer. Go to homeaglow.com/wifeofcrime1 to get your first 3 hours for only $19. That's homeaglow.com/wifeofcrime1. It's summertime, and we are out and about. I don't always have time to slave over a hot stove for hours making a gourmet meal. So if you're trying to eat better, but you don't want to spend hours in the kitchen, Green Chef is the way to go. It's the #1 meal kit for clean eating, and it seriously makes life so much easier. I've had the blackened chicken salad, the Mediterranean bowls, and even their protein breakfast, and everything is fresh and filled with flavor. Plus, their new Heat and Eat meals give you a wholesome dish ready in 3 minutes. It's a total game changer. Green Chef uses organic produce, responsibly sourced proteins, and they offer 80 dietitian-approved meals every week. They have things like plant-based, gluten-free, high-protein, even gut and brain health options. It's flexible, easy to customize, and perfect if you're trying to build healthy habits without all the planning and hassle. So make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/50wifeofcrime and use code 50wifeofcrime to get 50% off your first month and then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's greenchef.com/50wifeofcrime. The Wagners were considered affluent for Pike County. They had money, they had land, new trucks. Angela Wagner homeschooled her sons and ran a tight ship. The family operated a very successful horse breeding business that was passed down to them from their grandparents. And in small town terms, they were the kind of people others looked up to. They were the Joneses everyone was trying to keep up with.
They had the new F-150s every few years.
Yeah, they had money. But dig a little deeper, and the cracks were obvious. There was a history of arson, controlling behavior, and unspoken weirdness.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Friends and exes.
I can never talk about fire without saying that.
I know. Friends and exes would later reveal a deeply toxic and strange dynamic in the Wagner home. Angela Wagner called the shots, always. The Rhodens and the Wagners weren't just neighbors. They were deeply intertwined, practically family. Chris Rhoden Sr. and Billy Wagner, they had been close friends for years, and they worked alongside each other on car repairs, farming equipment, or local odd jobs. Their sons, Jake Wagner and Frankie Rhoden, grew up together. And Jake and Hannah Mae's relationship, even though to me is like red flags, he's 18 and she's 13, which is like, ugh. So Jake and Hannah's relationship only solidified the bond between the families. Hannah moved in with the Wagners 2 years into their relationship, so she was 15.
What did she bring her Legos and stuffed animals with her?
Right, I know. She's young, but no, she moved in and got pregnant.
Well, obviously that's what happens when you put two teenagers with raging hormones together with unlimited sex potential.
Yeah.
And they don't even got to sneak to see each other.
Yeah. So, I mean, she moved in with the family and then she became pregnant pretty shortly after.
So that means she was 15 and he was 20.
Yeah. Jake's mother, Angela Wagner, welcomed Hannah Mae with open arms at first. But Hannah would quickly realize her affection wasn't love. It was ownership and control. Angela controlled everything in the Wagner household, from what her sons ate to when they had sex. No oral sex was allowed at all. And sex was only allowed if it was to get pregnant. Like,
how would she know? Would she watch?
oh, listen, it gets wild.
She's like a porn director.
No, she's like a dictator in her house. She's like a mix between a dictator and a cult leader in her own home.
This is giving me a lot of Ozark vibes. Like, I forgot her name, the one from Ozark.
Darlene.
Yeah. But Darlene ended up being, I ended up liking her.
She's kind of a mix of Darlene and someone else that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So Angela was completely obsessed with her sons. And her sons did every single thing their mother asked them. They were mama's boys on a toxic level. George Wagner's ex-wife told investigators that Angela would kick her out of the bedroom every night just so she could scratch George's back and talk about the day. Every single night. These are grown men, by the way. So ladies, when you think your mother-in-law is bad, she probably has nothing on Angela Wagner, because just wait. This is the kind of woman Angela Wagner was. She was domineering, dangerous, and dead set on keeping her family in line. She didn't just lead her household, she ruled it. She was what you'd call a cult leader in a mom's body. She was like the blueprint for every manipulative matriarch we've seen in TV shows. And not only does she remind me of Darlene from Ozark, she also reminds me so much of Maeve Harrington from Mobland, the Irish puppet master, pulling the strings behind her family's dirty business. She was calm and cunning while the bodies piled up. That show was so good.
Mobland was so good. I hated Maeve.
Yes, I hated Maeve too, but she's giving me Maeve Harrington vibes for sure. But Angela wasn't fiction. She was the real thing. As I was researching this case, I thought about Maeve Harrington the entire time, and Darlene, because, this is in Ohio, so it is a little bit different. But I thought of both of those women through this whole thing. The Wagner family may have looked like a respectable church-going household from the outside, but behind closed doors, they operated more like a criminal enterprise than a typical family. The patriarch, Billy Wagner, had a long history of shady dealings, from arson to fraud, and he passed down his appetite for manipulation and control to his sons. The family had been investigated multiple times over the years for accusations of forging documents, stealing generators, and even setting their own property on fire for insurance money.
I only think that, a mother like that can have control over the family if they're rich. The kids aren't working and, they're financially in charge.
Yeah, but this dynamic is really strange. Angela Wagner was the brain behind everything. She kept tight reins on her family members' movements, finances, and even their relationships. The Wagners homeschooled their sons not for education, but for isolation and control. They lived together, they worked together, they schemed together. What looked like a family of four was actually a closed-loop operation built on manipulation, paranoia, and power. And in a small town like Pike County, they were considered well off. New trucks, multiple properties. They had taken trips to Alaska multiple times. But this was all part of the illusion. Beneath the surface was a family who believed they were smarter than everyone else, untouchable, and they were willing to do whatever it took to get what they wanted. Billy, Angela, George, and Jake had multiple accounts, but they all had access to all of them. There were large sums of money transferred between these accounts, which made cops look deep into the family's finances and businesses. But they found out the full extent of this family's dynamic and dirty deeds when investigators were interviewing the girlfriends and wives of the Wagner boys and learning how power-hungry Angela was and how all three men in her life would bow down to her and do whatever she said at any cost. Their loyalty to their mother was unmatched. The women told police about how the whole home had an open door policy. Even going to the bathroom was not private. The women Yeah, I know. This is next level. Like, this family had no boundaries with each other. None.
So they poop with the door open?
Yeah, they had no boundaries. Nothing was off limits with this family.
I don't like when people poop when the door open because I have a splash phobia.
Yeah.
I don't like hearing the donk.
The women said they felt incredibly uncomfortable around the family because nothing was private or off limits, even talks about their sex lives. The women also told police that Angela would completely take over the mothering of the children. Instead of acting like their grandmother, she called her grandchildren her children.
See, if all the women were super young, then maybe she could do that. But I feel like
they are.
Yeah, so like if they were grown women, I don't think you could get away with that.
So it's 3 women specifically. Hannah Mae was Jake's baby mama. They were about to get married. You know, they'd been together for 5 years. And then George's ex-wife, Tabitha, lived there for some time. And then Jake's next girlfriend who turned into his new wife, her name was Beth. And all 3 of these women said the same things about Angela. But they were all definitely younger. And you know, they lived in the house with them because the boys wouldn't move out. They lived in their house with their mother and they weren't leaving.
But did the boys make money on their own or
Yeah.
were they? Oh, they did.
Yeah, they all had jobs.
So they were just sucker mama's boys.
Yes. The women also told police that Angela would completely take over the mothering of the children. Instead of acting like their grandmother, she called the grandchildren her children. She pushed the women away, manipulated the babies into treating her like their mother, and eventually the real mothers would be cut out. When George and his ex Tabitha had a son, Angela and her husband Billy took the baby into their room to sleep with them. And when Tabitha had finally had enough of this psychotic dynamic, she tried to leave and take her child. Angela had the baby and wouldn't let him go. She pulled a gun on her and threatened to kill her. Tabitha ran out of the house and hid on the property while the family literally hunted her on their property. She finally escaped by stealing a bike and riding to the gas station. She called her mother from a payphone, and her mother had to come get her. She would sadly lose custody of her son to the Wagner family because they made up lies about her and convinced law enforcement that Tabitha abused George, her husband.
That's bullshit, because it's just one person's word against another.
Yeah, well, it happens all the time. Since the Wagners were like rich and they were a nice church-going family from the outside, they were a staple in the community, they were granted full custody. When Hannah Mae left Jake, because she had had enough, she moved back in with her mom, and they began co-parenting their daughter, Sophia. But Angela wasn't having it. She wanted full custody of Sophia. Jake even texted Hannah that Sophia wasn't going anywhere unless he came with her, and if not, he warned her she'd be living without her daughter. Hannah Mae stood her ground. She wasn't having it. She knew the Wagners were dangerous. She experienced Angela's toxicity firsthand because she lived in their house with them. And Tabitha, George's ex, Tabitha's mom, even messaged her on Facebook, warning her not to sign any custody papers from the Wagners. And Hannah replied, "I would never sign anything. They'd have to kill me first." In the first week of May 2016, the Wagner family left Pike County and moved to Alaska. They told friends of theirs that they wanted to shield all the kids from the intense media that had descended on the town.
Was this media after everyone died? Or
Yes.
Was it? Okay.
On May 10th, 2016, the Ohio BCI and the Polk County Sheriff's Office executed a search of the Wagners' properties. They confiscated multiple guns and ammunition. They also executed a warrant for a friend of Billy's property. Because, see, Billy called his friend Bernie Brown and asked if the family could store some items on his farm while they lived in Alaska until the media attention from the case calmed down. So a week before the search, the Wagner boys dropped off a shipping container, 2 pickup trucks, a horse trailer, and a small storage trailer on Bernie Brown's property next to his barn. So the Ohio BCI agents began unpacking and searched through everything. And it took a large group of officers 8 hours to complete the search. During the search, agents found a ghillie suit, a jacket of bullets, a laptop, and a large folder of papers with George's name on it. In one of the pickup trucks, they found 2 cell phones, a box of documents, a receipt for a Beretta 902 FS purchased by George in April, 3 ski masks. There was also a notebook with the name Edward Jake Wagner written on the front, and in the book were multiple drawings. The first drawing said "Secret Spy Case" at the top, and it included a sketch of 2 handguns, a toolkit, a cleaning kit, 2 flashlights, and 2 silencers. Another sketch in the book had the words "close combat gear" written on the top, and on this page was a drawing of a stick person covered in tactical gear. And then on the next page, there was a diagram drawn of the floor plan of a home, and it was labeled by room. And then another page was an aerial view of a property sketched out with multiple buildings on it, and each building was labeled. They found GPS tracking devices and cameras. They also found a lockpick set. They found custody documents for the children, Bovine and Sophia. Both granted full custody to the Wagners. 2 documents were also found that granted Angela Wagner full custody of her grandchildren if her sons were to die. In Jake's truck, they found a Walmart receipt for 2 pairs of men's shoes, one size 11 and one size 10.5. At the crime scene, forensic investigators documented 2 shoe prints in the blood at Chris Sr. and Gary's home. They were both left shoe prints, and it was the same shoe because the tread matched in both prints. They went to the Walmart where the receipt came from, and they watched on the surveillance footage as Angela Wagner walked up to the self-checkout line with 2 pairs of shoes in hand. And they matched the shoe tread from the crime scene to the brand of shoes she bought. It was an exact match.
Book 'em, Dano.
Financial records revealed multiple tools they purchased in the weeks prior to the mass murder to make homemade silencers for guns. So Jake apparently learned how to make silencers for guns from the show The Walking Dead. In Jake's cell phone, they found a list in his notes app of all the guns owned by the family. There were a total of 21 guns on the list, and police recovered 17 of them. 2 of the guns on the list that weren't recovered were a match to the guns used in the murders. On the laptop, they discovered videos Jake had filmed of his ex, Hannah Mae. He would film these videos while picking up his daughter, Sophia, from the Rhoden's house. The videos were clearly filmed without Hannah's knowledge. So he would just have his phone right here and be filming, but Hannah had no idea that he was filming her.
Why was he doing that?
Because he was saying things like, "Oh, my daughter looks so dirty. Do you not bathe her?" Little things like that.
Being manipulative to try to get custody.
Well, he was trying to document him complaining about the way they treat his daughter and Hannah's responses so that he could build a narrative to make her look bad.
So he was doing what the mom told him to do.
Oh, yeah, of course. Definitely. The law enforcement agents wiretapped the phones of the Wagners from May to August 2018. And they also conducted multiple recorded interviews. Angela was interviewed once for 2 hours, where she denied any involvement in the Rhoden's death, but she also wanted to tell investigators how great her and Hannah's relationship was. She said they had a mother-daughter type of relationship, and they got along really well. Sometimes she had to discipline her. Sometimes she acted up. She was a teenager. She treated her like her daughter.
See, that's crazy.
So I'm going to play a recording of this recorded interview that they did where she's describing the relationship between the 2 of them.
That's why you're not supposed to just move out your house unless you're moving into a house with your spouse alone.
Yeah.
You know why he ever wanted to bring it?
You know what? I know that. I know that Hannah was real young when her and Jake got together. And
What's the age difference between the two?
Hannah was 13 and my son was 17.
Okay.
16 and a half, something like that.
Okay.
I saw them the first day they met. You know, we was at the fair and she had her rabbit. God, Sophie's just like her too. And we had a rabbit and she looked at Jake and she's like, "Do you want to pet my rabbit?" I still remember it. Yeah. Sometimes Sophie looks just like the faces that she does and stuff. But anyway,
That's gotta be tough.
well, you know, Hannah called me mom. And yeah, it's hard. And then when I see, I'm trying to think about it. Because if I don't think about it, I don't get upset for them. I try not to do, you know.
So your relationship with him was good.
It was. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I kept trying to explain this to Ryan and Jonathan. We had a typical mother-daughter relationship. You know, she was a teenager. I mean, we had...
Frustration.
Well, when she first started hanging out, I thought she was a spoiled brat. I mean, not that I have sons and I thought she wasn't good enough. I mean, you know, but I thought she was a spoiled brat because she really was. I mean, no offense, but she was. She was 13. Her dad let her get away with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, my gosh, she would just, if you'd say, you know, like it'd be raining, and she'd go outside and she would bring her friends over. And they'd run out. We lived on a farm. She'd run out there and get mud from head to toe. And then she just want to come in the house and plop down. And I you know, we live on a farm, but, you know, get your butt outside and, you know, be in the mud. And, oh, my, she would give me looks and she would snarl and she would tell Jake I was being mean and, you know, but that's typical teenage.
Yeah, typical. Sometimes mother-in-laws can tell.
Mother-in-laws are the worst.
Right, that's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my poor mother-in-law. Now I think, oh my.
She probably just thought she was a spoiled brat because she wasn't used to the rules that her sons were going by.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, this lady was like, she was on top of everybody in her house. So Hannah was not having it. She was rebellious because she's like, what are you telling? She's constantly, you know, telling her what to do, she rules the roost. So on the wiretaps, they heard George ask Jake, quote, "If we all go to the electric chair, would you want Beth to tell Sophia about it?" Beth is Jake's new wife. In another wire recording, Angela tells George, "We need to have a family meeting about this investigation." George said, "Every time you and Dad get in trouble with the law, it's because someone caves." And he said, quote, "I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to crumble." So this is all recorded.
Yeah, so they've been in trouble with the law before.
Yeah. Angela was also heard saying to her two sons in one recording, quote, "I think we are on borrowed time." It was clear to investigators, though, that the family started to suspect they were being listened to, because in one recording, George says, quote, "Yes, Ryan, I know you're listening to this," talking about one of the BCI special agents, Ryan Schreider, who was the lead investigator on the case. So they ended up realizing they were being tapped. The family was not named as suspects, but in a press conference, the attorney general and sheriff asked the community to come forward if they have any information about the Wagner family, any interactions, business dealings, or even confrontations. The attorney for the Wagner family then had a press conference afterwards defending the Wagners, saying that they are being harassed by police and that the cops are using valuable resources to harass his clients instead of looking for the real killers.
Wow. Well, as he should. That's his job.
True. Jake's new wife, Beth, was told by the family that she cannot make any decisions with the family yet. And now that the cops were really looking into the family, they wanted to ship her away to a secret location until things cooled off. So when they told Beth this, she was like now convinced that they had murdered the Rhodens. So she was scared to death because they're telling her, "We really can't have you involved in any decision making, so we're going to send you away. And then when things cool off, you can come back." And she's like, "Send me away. They're going to literally kill me." They're going to send her away to a hole in the ground, pretty much.
Yeah.
So she was scared to death.
She's going to be swimming with the fishes.
Exactly. So she was scared to death, and she ran away in the middle of the night from the Wagner's home. There was a well on the Wagner's property filled with bricks. After an almost 2-year investigation, BCI officers went to that well and started unloading the bricks one by one. At the bottom of the well, they found a homemade silencer made by the items purchased by the family. After almost 2 years, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation arrested the 4 members of the Wagner family, Jake, George, Billy, and Angela. In November of 2018, a grand jury brought indictments against the 4 Wagners, as well as Billy Wagner's mother, Frederica Wagner, and a woman named Rita Newcomb, which was Angela Wagner's mom.
Imagine how bad the grandmas are if the daughters turned out like this.
So actually, well, it's only one daughter, but actually they're not bad at all.
I don't know. I went plural, but I thought the grandmas would have been crazy and then pass it down.
No, they actually were nice ladies.
Really?
Yeah. Angela's just crazy all on her own. She's a psychotic lady. So the 4 Wagners, Jake, George, Billy, and Angela, were charged with 8 counts of aggravated murder each, as well as conspiracy, tampering with evidence, unlawful possession of a weapon, forgery, obstructing justice, and aggravated burglary. Jake was also charged with unlawful sexual contact with a minor in regard to his relationship with Hannah that started when she was 13 and he was 18.
Good.
Angela's mother, Rita Newcomb, forged custody documents and then lied about it to law enforcement and the grand jury. She eventually struck a deal and her charges were reduced to misdemeanors. Frederica Wagner, which was Billy's mother, was charged with obstruction of justice and perjury because she lied to the grand jury about 2 bulletproof vests that she purchased. George and his father, Billy, pled not guilty to all 22 charges. Initially, Jake pled not guilty as well, but then, in April of 2019, he changed his plea to guilty of 8 counts because he took a deal. Prosecutors offered to not seek the death penalty if Jake would testify against the rest of his family.
Wow.
So he took the deal. And this is all because of him, really, if you think about it, because this whole thing all started because of his relationship with Hannah Mae Rhoden. And we're going to find out the full motive in a little bit. But it all is because of him, and then he ended up turning on his family.
Welcome back, everybody. A major development in Ohio's largest ever murder investigation. One of the 4 people charged in the Pike County Massacre admits he and his family committed the crimes. And Jeanette Levy's back with the latest in this saga. And Jeanette?
Jesse, for many years, Jake Wagner and members of his family have vehemently denied any involvement in the Rhoden and Gilly murders. But now that has changed.
Yes, Your Honor. I agree to what the state has provided, and I'm deeply and very sorry.
On the 5th anniversary of the Rhoden and Gilly murders, Jake Wagner stood in a Pike County courtroom and admitted he and his family killed the 8 family members, including the mother of his child, Hannah Mae Rhoden.
What plea do you wish to get her in count 7 to the charge of aggravated murder of Hannah Mae Rhoden?
I am guilty, Your Honor.
Wagner appeared to tear up when Hannah Mae's name was mentioned. Prosecutors say Wagner, his mother Angela, father Billy, and older brother George wanted full custody of the little girl Hannah and Jake shared. He recently confessed to state investigators after years of denying involvement.
What he told us led us to discover some evidence that had yet to be recovered, specifically the weapons that were used in these offenses, along with vehicles that were used during these offenses, including one that was bought specifically to use the night of the homicides.
Wagner and his family were indicted in November 2018 after a 2.5-year investigation. Then investigators' attention turned to the Wagners a year after the murders.
This was cold blood. I mean, this was calculated, planned out.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine was the attorney general when the murders happened. That day, he promised the Rhodens the case would be solved.
Family's been through hell. While today I'm sure it was a very gratifying day, it couldn't have been an easy day. They've got to be leaving here just totally exhausted and emotionally spent. But these are tough people. These are strong people.
And as part of the plea agreement, Jake Wagner has actually agreed to testify against his mother, his father, and his older brother. And the death penalty as part of the plea agreement has been taken off of the table for all of them.
So when Angela Wagner was finally pressed for answers, her justification revealed the full extent of her warped thinking. She claimed that everything she did, every plan she orchestrated, every life taken was to protect her granddaughter, Sophia. According to Angela, the Rhodens were unfit parents. And more disturbingly, she claimed she believed Sophia was being sexually assaulted while in their care.
Well, maybe you shouldn't let your son fucking get with a child, and then the parent will be fit if they got pregnant when they were a fucking adult.
Yeah, I mean, she's
like you're letting the child move into your house to have a baby.
Yeah.
So you're manipulating the whole situation.
No, it's weird. But she's also talking about Hannah's parents. She wasn't talking about Hannah being well, she was talking about Hannah being unfit, but also Hannah's parents being unfit. And, she is now claiming that Sophia was being sexually assaulted while in their care. But there was no evidence to support this claim. But in Angela's mind, it became the ultimate excuse, a story she clung to in order to rationalize mass murder. She said the custody battle had become a threat to Sophia's safety, and that Hannah Mae refused to sign over full custody. Angela didn't see herself as a criminal. She saw herself as a savior. She forged documents, bought the weapons, and helped plan the ambushes. She wanted to make sure that no one who could file for custody in the Rhoden family would be able to do it. So she took out everyone that could potentially get custody of Sophia.
That's insane. She's insane.
I know. And when it was all over, she stood by the belief that killing 8 people was necessary in her eyes. It wasn't murder. It was protection. It was a delusion so deep, it turned a grandmother into a killer and her family into her weapon. The trial of the Wagner family was one of the most shocking and closely watched in Ohio's history. It unfolded slowly, with each courtroom appearance peeling back another layer of the family's disturbing inner world. Jake Wagner's testimony was chilling. He described in excruciating detail how the murders were carried out with military-like precision, how they trained for months, and how Angela orchestrated the entire operation like she was preparing for war. George Wagner refused to take a plea, and he went to trial, forcing the state to lay out its case, meticulously connecting text messages, security footage, forged custody documents, and witness testimony. It took the jury 7 hours over the course of 2 days to find him guilty of all 22 counts against him.
So I'm curious, who did all the killings? Like, how did it go?
George, Jake, and Billy, the 3 men, did all the killings while Angela stayed home.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine getting to that point over something like that.
I know.
No one could because, well, some people could, but most people are normal-ish and that wouldn't even cross your brain.
I know. Like, this lady is completely insane. Well, all of them are. Their whole dynamic is so weird and crazy. So Angela eventually took a plea as well, admitting her role in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. The trial exposed not just the cold-blooded killings, but also the insidious control and dysfunction within the Wagner household.
Insidious. You did a callback to the Warrens.
Oh, I did.
By mistake.
In the end, it wasn't about who pulled the trigger. It was about a family so twisted by power and paranoia that they believed slaughtering 8 people was justified. Angela Wagner weaponized motherhood. She took the role meant to nurture and protect and twisted it into something monstrous. She didn't just want control, she needed it. And she was willing to murder 8 people, including the mother of her own granddaughter, to get it. Angela wasn't just involved, she was the architect of this entire thing. Angela Wagner and Maeve Harrington are the kind of mother-in-laws who don't just join a family, they become the family.
Don't bring you no banana bread.
They don't bring you banana bread, no. They don't raise sons, they raise soldiers. Everything appears normal on the surface. And to the outside, they look like good wives and mothers. But behind closed doors, they rule with quiet menace. The husbands might look like they wear the crown, but it's the matriarch pulling every string, making every decision, setting every trap. Angela didn't need brute force. She used loyalty, guilt, and control to get her dirty deeds done. Like Maeve Harrington, she didn't yell, she manipulated. She didn't threaten, she orchestrated. And if you're a woman who dares to love their sons, you're not gaining a partner. You're stepping into a war you didn't even know you were fighting. Because women like Angela don't let go. Not of their sons, not of their power, and certainly not of a child that they believe belongs to them. And that's the case of the Pike County Massacre.
That's just insane to wipe out 8 people.
It's wild.
That's like some real Mexican cartel shit or basically any mafia shit.
I know. It's like a mafia hit. But yeah, it's crazy that this family dynamic was so warped and it all stemmed from Angela Wagner. And yeah, she just reminded me so much of Maeve Harrington and Darlene from Ozark. It was like a mix of those 2 women in this lady.
I feel like it's a redneck mafia.
That's what it feels like. But they're just a family of 4. Like it's just 4 of them. And it's wild. Those sons they did everything their mother asked. And the dynamic was really bizarre. But I guess she homeschooled them on purpose to keep them isolated.
I've never heard of nothing like this.
I know. It's wild. When I first heard of this case, I couldn't believe it that someone would kill an entire family in one night. I've never heard of anything like it either. So, of course, I had to research it and then I deep dived it, and learning all about Angela Wagner blew my mind. So, anyone who's getting married, any of our listeners who are getting married, use this as a cautionary tale. Definitely vet your future partner's family before you get involved.
Watch out for the mother-in-laws.
Watch out for them. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning back in. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime The Crime Family, and wifeofcrime.com for all the merch.
Camp Wife of Crime t-shirts because you in the camp.
And we will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.
Peace.